Hey fellow Trek Chatters, I'm Pit Trekkie, and welcome to another episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. So for today's episode, what I'm going to be doing is reviewing episode 4 of the Star Trek Con audio podcast, and that episode was called Magical Thinking. So roughly we're picking up at the very end of episode 3. Khan has actually gone to bury the two that died in the previous episode, Sylvana and Richter, and Ivan obviously comes and asks to help, trying to be Khan's right-hand man. And it kind of leads to a discussion with them about kind of having traditions and what it's like to, how he's been feeling basically to lie to the people in the colonies, in the colony itself. So it's things like that have been weighing on him briefly. Then we jump in more to what's going on with the SETI eels. So Mado and Ursula they're going over what the eel looked like. Marla actually showed and drew a picture. They're doing the autopsy of Richter, and they're looking at the little baby eel, and they were saying about how it buries itself in the cerebral cortex and shoots out this venom, essentially, that causes them to be susceptible to suggestion and also hallucinations. Marla again comes in with her drawings of the SETI eel. They actually said it was very helpful. Marla decides on her own that she's going to go and find a sample of an adult SETI eel. And Ursula agrees to go with her, even though Ursula was kind of a bitch about it to her to some degree. But she basically says to Ursula, well, you can either trust me or you don't. So Ursula goes with her. They take these really bright Starfleet lights, and they go out into the forest, and they actually do find a SETI eel, and she zaps it with a phaser on stun. She asks Ursula to not tell Khan about the phaser, and Ursula actually agrees. And I think it's really at this point where Ursula actually starts to trust Marla, because she put herself in danger, essentially, to go and get this specimen when she didn't have to, especially being Khan's woman. All right? So they end up bringing the creature back, and they find out that the SETI eel is not where it's just only one sex. It's not asexual reproduction. They have males and they have females, and we find out at this time that the males basically serve the queen. There's a big queen underneath. We find out that there's apparently a colony of these things, these eels, out in the woods. There's a big mound, and there are probably a lot of exit tunnels out of it. And so they come up with a plan that they need to go and destroy this creature once and for all. Now, right before they go and do this, Ursula talks about, or Mado, whichever one of them, or maybe it was Erica, I can't remember which one, but one of the ladies was talking about how they can use make silica from the sea life and actually create protection inside their shelters from the inside to insulate so that the creatures can't get out. They also are ordered by Khan they're going to build a fence, and they're going to have patrols on constantly, no matter what time of day it is. And then they're eventually going to fortify the insulation of the fences as well to protect from any more eel attacks. But anyway, Khan decides that today we're going to fight a new villain, and they decide to go out into the woods, and they find the colony. Marla wants to go with Khan at this point, but this is now a few months later. And Marla says and tells Khan, I'm pregnant. He obviously wants her to stay behind. So she stays behind, but the colonists with Khan go out to the nest, and they manage to use napalm as a way to kind of force all of these SETI eels out. Khan has them trying to hit at them with knives, things of that nature, and nothing's working to stop the creatures. And then the queen comes up, which is apparently super huge, and it's stopped and killed by Marla with the phaser. So Khan was surprised that she actually had a phaser and that she didn't tell him about it. And he was also surprised that Ursula never told him that she knew about the phaser, even though he said that he respected the fact about Ursula trying to respect privacy. And Marla, he doesn't get mad at Marla, but Marla explains to him, look, this is the way we were trained in Starfleet Academy. Even though I was just a historian, this is how we were trained, that we keep technology close to us and we don't let people who don't know how to use it or create it, really, ever use it. So throughout this episode with Khan and Marla, their relationship's been getting stronger, and I'm going to actually talk about that. But again, she's pregnant, and there was talk earlier in the episode from Marla about traditions. At that point, the earlier part of the episode, we're still about 1.5 to 2 months into their being on Ceti Alpha 5, and she wants Khan to actually start setting traditions for their colony, for their empire, essentially. And she wants them to actually, him to start developing, I guess, ways to memorialize the people that had died. Okay? And that becomes a thread that goes on in the episode. I'm actually going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. Now, there was a in the middle break that focused on Dr. Rosalind Lear and Tuvok. But I'm going to get to that in just a minute when I'm analyzing the episode. But first, what I want to talk about what I thought of the episode itself. So Marla's actually starting to grow on Khan. Their relationship is starting to become much stronger at this point. And Marla is starting to actually to prove that she can actually be an accepted member of this colony. She took the risk when she went out with Ursula to go and stun a creature so that they could do some sort of autopsy to find out how these things work and how they operate. She put herself at risk when she didn't have to. Remember, she doesn't have the augment strength or intelligence that they do. But that also started endearing her more to Ursula, first of all, and Khan as well. All right. I love the fact, and I just mentioned this a little bit ago, I love that Marla's trying to help Khan in seeing the importance of having tradition for their colony, specifically for the deaths of their comrades. We learn more in this episode about how the augments see death. They basically, according to Khan, just see the augment bodies as a shell after they're gone, and that they're just to be treated as such. But Marla said, no, in order to be a good leader, you need to sympathize, you need to empathize with your people. Let them know it's okay to feel loss, and that we're also going to rally around each other with these losses. And that's exactly what happens later on in the episode when Khan invites Marla to the evening fire. Khan starts to pull some of the people up and tell them how he feels and shares their grief. He brings Joachim up about his father, and then brings Erica back up about Richter and Silvana. Even though she wasn't related to them, they were still friends, they were close. And you actually start hearing the people in the colony repeating this, that we are with Khan, or we're with you, we feel this. So that starts to bring a little bit of tradition in as well. Then more tradition starts to happen. We find out Marla's pregnant, okay? And Khan does the traditional thing to get down on one knee and propose. And they have it sounds like pretty much a traditional ceremony that's kind of secular, but that's the first time somebody in their colony is actually getting married. So that was a big deal, and that starts the beginning of some sort of traditions for their colony as well. So as you can see now, we went from Marla just still being whether or not she can be trusted, no one was quite sure, to now she's pregnant and married to Khan. Okay, so basically in between the episode, between the second month mark and the second half of the episode, which jumped to 4 months into the colony's existence. So it was listed as day 119. So during that time, because she helped out with the Ceti eels and got the sample, she started becoming invited to the fires that they have nightly to end the nights, which is another ritual that they were doing, and also to different council meetings that Khan was calling. She also started spending less and less time in the cargo pods, and it was basically essentially moved in with Khan, obviously, which is where she got pregnant. And she started to say that she feels that she's Khan's woman, that he is my Khan. So he's not my God, but just like with the other people, I revere his strength, his intelligence, and his leadership, and that I value that. So definitely that's starting to grow. All right. We also learned a little bit more about the Ceti eels. I talked a little bit about that already. So they're actually both sexes. So that was never said before in any of Star Trek lore. So the colonists felt that they were, androgynous, they just kind of asexually reproduced or whatever. But we find out that the males carry these white things on their backs instead of the babies, these spermatozoa, and then basically are they impregnate the queen. The queen is apparently much larger. And essentially the males are simply drones, kind of like with the Borg, just doing for her. And basically their only job essentially is to impregnate the females, the queens. And other than that, they really serve no purpose. So that was very interesting. We also find out about their living. We find out now that it's not just like random big little mounds and stuff, little nests. There's actually a big colony under the ground in the jungle forest area. So the queen is deep, deep down, and there are all these exit apertures, if you want to call it like that, exits outside of there that a lot of the eels travel in and out of. So I think it was great that they were able to use the weapons that they had from the Botany Bay and everything, use the napalm and to gas the nest or burn the nest away. And it was good, luckily, that Marla put her own trust in jeopardy when it came to Khan, because she was keeping another secret from him. And she broke her own promise to Ursula. She wanted Ursula to protect her secret, but she broke it herself and showed everybody. But she did it for the best of the colony. And I think Khan respected that and actually understood where she was coming from, especially after explaining about the whole Starfleet officer thing as well. Plus, the fact that he loved her very, very much, that didn't hurt. All right. We did not hear anything about SETI Alpha 6 in this episode, except for one brief moment when Marla and Ursula went to wake up Paulo so they could use his dino scanner to find some of the SETI eels, so that they can get one to bring back to the colony. The only thing he really said was, what, did it explode yet? So that was the only little mention of that, and then it just kind of went on the way. All right. So we now know Khan and Marla, this was never said before, that Khan and Marla had a baby. Now, it was never officially established in canon that they did have babies. And they never said it in Star Trek II as well. There was, for years, for decades, there was fan speculation that Joaquin was actually Khan and Marla's son, or at least Khan's son. But we now know that he's actually Joaquin's son with another standard human, Talia. So this, we also heard that Khan had a child, a little baby, and there were some deleted scenes from Star Trek II of a baby looking out the window and crawling in the Reliant transporter room to the Genesis device torpedo. They were always saying, online that was Khan's son. I don't know if it was Marla's or not, but that was never confirmed. So now we have actual canon confirmation that Khan and Marla were going to have a baby. And that actually, it's very interesting that they added this into it, because it adds more weight to the reason why Khan wants vengeance with Kirk, 15 years down the road. Because not only does he lose Marla, but he loses the baby in the process. So, or maybe the baby survived, who knows? We don't know when Marla actually gets affected with the SETI eel. Of course we'll find out, because that's a big part of this story. But it adds a lot more weight to why Khan vows that vengeance toward Kirk. It's not just about his wife, it's also possibly about the child as well that he lost. Alrighty. Another good thing about this episode is you actually almost feel for Khan like he's actually a good guy, and the augments, you want them to succeed. They're not just these simple villains that try to take over the Enterprise and then rule a population or a colony or whatever. They actually are starting to get happy. In that jump from the 2-month mark into the 4-month mark, Khan even says they have planted 6 fields. They've got food and supplies stored away and cataloged. They were able to build the fence around the colony to protect their colony perimeter and to keep the SETI eels out. So they also sealed their homes with that silica that they were able to get from the sea. So they're having nightly fires, which kind of remind me of the Sunday night Reagan dinners from Blue Bloods. But this one was nightly. But there's a big sense of community, and they actually seem to be, okay, we're in a good spot now. We're going to make this work. Too bad they don't know what's coming. Unfortunately, we do, but they don't know. And that's what makes it sad when Khan's making this speech about how the colony's thriving, what's going to end up happening now as a result, and they're going to lose absolutely everything. It's really sad. Now, like I said earlier in the episode, there was a small piece in the middle of the episode with the side story where Dr. Lear is listening to Marla MacGyver's tapes. And she asked for Tuvok to come and see her. What she wants is access to Captain Kirk's personal logs about what happened with Khan in the colony and Botany Bay and all of that. Basically, she wants to, essentially what she's trying to do is find reasons why Kirk allowed them to be on SETI Alpha 5. Why did it get stricken from the official record if there was nothing to hide? Well, all Tuvok said was that it was Captain's prerogative, whether he wanted to put it in the official log or actually keep it in his own private log. She seems to think that he knew that SETI Alpha 6 was on the verge of exploding and that Kirk purposely left him on SETI Alpha 5 so that way they'd be dealt with after SETI Alpha 6 exploded. And Tuvok says that there's nothing in Kirk's history that ever said something like that would happen. She then starts to say, well, why did the Reliant mess up on the counting of the planets and didn't think that there were 6? Did one just magically disappear? And Tuvok starts to wonder, where's this questioning coming from? And she once again says, I don't need to tell you about my sources, which ends up explaining again, bringing up from the very beginning of the first episode that there's some sort of informant that's feeding her knowledge, feeding her information about SETI Alpha 5 in the colony. So is this person, I don't even know who this person would even begin to be at this point. I mean, I can't imagine it would be one of Khan's people because they were all dead, at least at this point. Who knows what ended up happening, you know, but is it somebody else? Did somebody else go to the planet and get information and come back to? Who knows? So it's going to be interesting to see. And again, why does she have this urge to try to make Khan look like more of a hero and make Kirk to look out to be some villain who wanted to destroy his enemy and did it in a sneaky way? I guess we'll find out. But Tuvok said he was going to look to get permission for her to go over Captain Kirk's personal logs. So I guess we'll see. But that's basically it. That's my review of episode 4 of the Star Trek Con audio podcast. The episode again was called Magical Thinking. Please feel free to comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, the episode itself and my review. I will definitely get back to you. If you want to watch previous episodes of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat, just go to YouTube, type in Pittsburgh's Trek Chat in the search engine, and it'll take you directly to my channel. You can follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. You can also follow the show on X at PGH Trek Chat. Looking forward to the next episode, and until then, may yins live long and prosper.